Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. I am just back from my trip away last week. I was in New Orleans last week, visiting the future in-laws of one of my sons, and having a few days off in the sun and humidity, and boy was it hot. So as much as it was nice to visit New Orleans, it's nice to be back in Maine where it's cooler and sun and humidity. So right now we are just getting closer to, not that close yet, to having a hurricane here. Ironically, not one in New Orleans, but we might get one here in Maine. But whatever we get here will hardly be anything compared to what they're going to get down in southern New England. But right now, it's been over a week since I've been inside my hive, so I need to, and we should have been having a honeyflow, so I need to check to see how things are going, and that's my plan today. But in the meantime, I'm just having a look. Right now the bees have only just started to fly again, and the observation hive, the bees are bearding there. There's lots of bearding going on, but they're just starting to fly, which has been typical during this humidity that we've been having and cloudy mornings. The bees are not flying much in the mornings, but they're just starting to fly now. But while I'm here, I just wanted to show you my wildflower area of my yard. It's coming along quite nicely, and funnily enough, when I was looking at these flowers a couple of minutes ago, all these poppies had 2 or 3 or 4 honeybees on them. There's a few here. Some of the purple stuff down there. Some of the orange ones over there. But also we've got some sunflowers just about to pop. And a variety of plants out here at the moment. So it's coming along. My wife says it looks a mess, which is true. It does look a mess. But just think, all that lack of mowing, no need to mow. There's some very nice flowers. I wouldn't mind, when we've got a few more, I will actually pick some, so maybe I will repay the debt somehow that way. But there are some really lovely ones. I don't know what they're called. They're in my seed mixes that I put out here. But it'll be nice when those sunflowers are out. But we're just starting to see some of the pop of color from these various flowers that I've planted. So hopefully it'll just show what we can do with a small patch of grass, which is otherwise, I mean, basically we don't use this part of the lawn, so we may as well let the bees use this part of the lawn. Anyway, going over to the bees, I've certainly seen the bees are all over the goldenrod. I managed to see a bit yesterday afternoon. The bees are certainly all over the goldenrod. Now they won't be out very much yet, but they're just getting out now. But they should be mostly flying pretty soon. And I'm going to pop in and have a look inside those hives and see if they're accumulating much honey. But have a look at the clustering of bees on the outside. Just shows they're not really, even the nukes of bees clustering on them there. Got the hive with the pink super at the bottom, the tall stack there. Lots of bees clustering on the outside, but I'd say within an hour that will probably be finished and they'll be busy. You can see the scout bees are coming back in pretty frantically now, so they're coming back with reports. There's nectar out there, so the field force will be out in force pretty soon, collecting nectar and pollen. So time to get suited up, and we'll see if they've been collecting some nectar while I was away. Okay, let's see what honey we might have in some of these hives. See if they've been storing much. These were all partially filled before. I'm just going to look and see how things look, see if they're looking different. Full of bees. This colony is so full of bees. Where's my smoker? I don't see signs of drawing a lot of comb here. I put this fresh on, in fact, when I took the bees off. So this time last week, this super was totally empty. So in terms of honey in here, ooh, they've added 10 to 15 pounds of honey to this hive. That's not bad at all. That's here. These comb honey are now going extremely yellow, but that's what we have to deal with. I would say that they're building up the honey resources. They're certainly putting some up here, but there's still plenty of room in this colony. So I would say in the last week, just going on the top super, they put on 15 pounds of honey, but in all probability they put a few more pounds on as well in the other supers. Let's have a look here. I was fortunate in that that was one that I knew what there was in there a week ago. Let's have a look in this one. Can't remember what was in the top box, but last week I took off all the frames, all the hive supers that were ready to be removed. I can't see signs of a big honey flow on top here. I think this was also a new super. Ooh, 10 to 15 pounds of honey. Not a huge amount of wax. So I would say that I can certainly smell the goldenrod honey flow, but whilst there is a honey flow on, it's not enormous. We're not filling 2 supers a week or anything fanciful like that. It's been just over a week since I went in these hives. And these are relatively strong units, so certainly plenty of bees for them to do their foraging. This super is no real huge progress on that. They're probably filling boxes down below. So whilst we've got good growing conditions, I wouldn't for our nukes, and certainly plenty of food coming in for them, the honey flow is not so big that I've got to rush around and get supers on these boxes yet. The hives I left with room last week still have room. This still has plenty of room in there. I don't have to go any further to see that there's room in that box. See how things look up here. This would have been a brand new box. They're up here, they're cleaning it, they're working it, but they're not filling it. There's a flow, but not a huge one. Nothing to get excited about. Mind you, compared to previous years, any flow in the fall is something to be excited about. Sorry, I should correct myself there. For several years we've had terrible fall honey flows, with the occasional really good one. This year we're having a honey flow, but I wouldn't say it's anything special, at least not yet. This is only the 20th of August, or is it the 21st? I think it's the 21st of August. So it's early days yet. Most years, if there is a fall honey flow, it doesn't even start until the last few days. And of course, they had several weeks of dearth to put behind them. Anyway, there's progress being made in this little hive, but not that I'll need to give them extra room yet. So the frustrating thing about this sort of weather is, well, we've still got that, and we know that if the sun was out, they would be busy as heck, and so would they. And so would they. So right now, we're losing another great day for potential honey flow. I don't know how many days like this were like this when I was away in New Orleans this last week, but if we lost half the days, that would explain why we haven't filled up our supers. What we need is a nice spell of weather. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that for another 4 or 5 days, because it's due to be a similar cloudy day tomorrow, and then we've got a couple of days with the remnants of the hurricane coming through here, which will probably make it wet and breezy, but most importantly, not sunny. I think this time of year the bees can cope with a bit of breeze, the odd thunderstorm, but what they need is some good flying hours in the day. They could do a lot in 4 or 5 hours. It would be nice to have a 7 or 8 hour day of collecting. Anyway, the bees are healthy, growing, not particularly happy because they can't do much, but I'm not coming back to the big workload that I was a little bit worried about and excited about at the same time. I was hoping I might have to rush around all my yards and put more supers on. Doesn't look like this will be an urgent need to, but this is just one of 8 yards, and it can be a very different story in different areas. So don't assume that what I see is what's going on in your yard. Check your bees, because this time of year, when we get a strong honey flow, you need to keep on top of it, otherwise they'll plug up the brood nest and possibly swarm, which would be terrible. But even if they didn't swarm, you could end up with plugging up the brood nest to the extent that they don't produce a good crop of winter bees. Too small a cluster to go through of long-lived bees to go through the winter. That could be a problem for you. What I think I will be talking about during the upcoming rainy days is preparing your hives for winter. And your preparation for hives for winter starts in August. So watch this space. Anyway, the bees are collecting some resources. I'll be getting some honey out of this, but I'm not going to be having to rush around to put honey supers on just yet. But who knows, it could happen any day once we get a spell of good weather. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.